العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
محمد
محمد.
وعجل فرجه. Last week we discussed about abrogation in Quran. Shibli, if someone asks you why abrogation, what is the reason for abrogation? What response do you have? Somebody just come to you and ask you, you are a Muslim, what is the reason for abrogation? What do you say?
Gradual evolution.
Would be that
Huh?
there was that was revealed.
No, I don't want the meaning, the explanation of the meaning. Somebody just come and ask you, why abrogation? Why? So tell me the reason, because if you telling me this book is for Allah, and then all of a sudden you are telling me some verses are abrogated, what will come to my mind is, maybe there is something wrong, you know what I mean? So now someone tell you, how do you get out of this myth?
Simple example is like mobile today. Previously used to be telephone, so there is development which has taken place. Improvement.
Mullah.
Yeah, it substitutes from lower to the higher stage.
Okay, to substitute, that's the meaning.
Yeah.
Is to substitute from the lower to the... So therefore, what will be the objective, Mama?
Human beings, as they evolve, so the rulings have come in phases. If it were to come all of a sudden, overnight, it would have been hard for the people to...
That's also not bad. Still, that's bad. Explain the way they explain is correct. But I want what is the reason behind abrogation. I just want a reason.
To have a clear meaning.
To have a clear meaning. Muhammad Habib.
Well, because the universe is it's a natural phenomena for it to evolve and to become in a higher state.
Still correct. But I need something.
Explain progress with time.
With time. Because that is the nature of human being. So you cannot expect a person to become mu'min arif the same thing. So the nature of human being or the nature of the world is such that you should take a person from one point to another for him or her to get used to what is happening. All of you explain well, but the objective is very, very important. It's a method or it's a mechanism of educating and teaching people or the universe due to its nature or the nature of human being. So therefore, if I ask the second question, what lesson of life do we learn from the concept of abrogation? Who can tell me? What lesson of life do we get from the concept of abrogation? Who can tell me? Yes, Ajahman.
You're living a better and better person.
Huh?
You become a better and better person
In what sense?
as a human being.
Yeah, in what sense?
In a way, like probably before you are not a practicing person, and gradually you end up to become a practicing person.
No. A little bit, sort of. You've done well, but
To increase awareness as the time goes by.
of what?
The worship of
From
Allah.
Jahiliya ignorance to education.
Sort of like Hajj Ahmed.
Yeah.
Like Hajj Ahmed. And
It's necessary to change with time.
it's necessary to change with time. In other words, the lesson we learn for life is that when you deal with someone, you don't expect the person to change within a short space of time. You expect him to take time before he acclimatizes to whatever you are teaching him or her. Excellent. Now another question.
Mulana, before you ask,
Yeah.
when you talk about abrogation,
Now.
does it mean that it's just abrogating another verse or a law? Like for example, changing the Qibla. Was there a verse before that? Or it was
But the verse I gave you that is talking about the two things at the same time. It's talking about Baitul Maqdis and it's talking about, there might be a verse or there might be Hadith al-Qudsi or there might be Hadith from Rasulullah. Very good question. Not everything that you have the two verses there standing. Okay? Sometimes you have the verse, like in the case of alcohol which we discussed last week. Sometimes no, you have a law which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to Rasulullah. And they were doing it and all of a sudden Allah would change.
But like the Sunnis are claiming that to be as Shias, we abrogate verses through our hadith.
Yeah, we don't have any verses to our hadith. Hadith cannot withstand the Quran. That's why I told you the last lesson we'll do before we start the main tafsir, we'll do comparison between hadith and Quran. What is the stand and the position of hadith in Islam? Hadith is too small to stand in opposite direction with Quran. Hadith is either it explains Quran, just emphasize on what the Quran is saying, but if Quran say east and hadith say west, we throw the hadith on the wall and then we click to Quran. Because in hadith, you have what is called ilm al-rijal, where you study the nature and the characteristics of the reporters of hadith. And there are two things we need in hadith. You look at the sanad, the context, and you look at the person. Quran is not like that. Allah says, "La yatihi al-batilu min bayni yadayhi, wala min khalfi, tanzilu min hakimin hamid." Quran, neither it's left or right. There is no wrongs. There is no mistake. La rayba fi, hudan lil muttaqin. But hadith is not like that. So therefore, they are just mere accusation against the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. We don't claim to have authentic book of hadith. We don't claim that. There were some times when they challenge us, they say, no, in Kulaini he mentioned this, in Wasa'il Shia, in Malla Yahdurul Faqih. We're not saying those books are all authentic from cover to cover. Some of our hadiths are really fabricated. Those ulama, majlisi, and all of them, they just compiled. That is why today when you go to Hausa, the ulama are working harder to separate the authentic riwayat from non-authentic riwayat. Yes, they claim to say we have Sahih Bukhari, we have Sahih Muslim, we have an Imajah, all the 6 books they claim to have it. We don't claim any of our book is authentic. We said they are subject to scrutiny, they are subject to discussion. Yes, we have differences between us and them in terms of whose hadith should be accepted and whose hadith should not be accepted. We have common grounds and we have also grounds where we don't meet at all. So therefore you realize sometimes there are hadiths which they take and they say it is authentic and to us it's not authentic. So that is some of the differences we have. So sometimes if you want to just label Shias, they say Shia this, Shia this. We don't claim that. Our riwayah must either be in line with Quran and cannot go beyond the Quran or of Quran. That is what our teachings are saying. So now I ask you last question, then we go to tonight's lesson. What is abrogation in Quran? Someone ask you, what is abrogation in Quran?
Certain rule.
Eh?
Certain rule is uplifted or removed.
A certain rule is uplifted or is removed. Who removed it is still in the Quran, right from the time of Rasulullah until today.
It helps to accommodate change in society.
It helps to accommodate change in society. That is good. Yeah?
It supersedes
It supersedes what?
the previous ruling.
Okay?
But there is an ayat in the Quran
Yeah.
which says, when you change one sign
Yeah.
for another sign,
Uh-huh.
and Allah knows best what He
Absolutely.
says.
So what does it mean?
So whatever it is, they are all signs of Allah.
No doubt. That's not a problem. All what you see in Quran and in the universe, they are signs of Allah. But now somebody comes and asks you, why abrogation? As we mentioned, it is to substitute one rule for another rule. But it doesn't mean that that rule is removed completely from the book. No. It's there, and even today, if you are faced with the same challenge as we explained last week, you can still go through the same stage to take a person from the lower level of humanity or lower level of spirituality to the highest level of spirituality. Like in the case of the alcohol, you see how beautifully Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala took them. How many years did they take for Allah to just stamp the authority alcohol is haram?
15 years.
15 good years. 15 good years. It took Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because those people were engrossed. They love alcohol. They were poor alcohol, mashallah. And fighting, as we mentioned last week. These three things were their qualities. So now Allah knew these people. This is how they are. It cannot just come with the best innamal khamr wal maisar at once and then all his haram is gone. Allah took them from one point to another until the last one. He told them, stay away from it. When did it start? When Prophet arrived in Medina. Last week we did it. After 2 years of his arrival in Medina. Now who can give you one example apart from the alcohol of abrogation in Quran? Yes, Muhammad.
In Surah 865
Yeah.
and Surah 866.
What does Allah say?
Allah says about jihad
Yeah.
that 20 of you can defeat 200 of them. And then after that he says in the next ayat that 1,000 of you can defeat 2,000 of them.
So is it abrogation?
So from 20 to 200 is a ratio of 1 to 10, and then he changes the ratio makes
Now you're doing actual size.
No.
I can argue that's not abrogation.
Yeah, it's not abrogation. So how do you argue it?
Because if so the ratio is 1 to 10,
1 to 10 and becomes
Yeah.
1 to 2.
1 to 2, right?
Yeah.
So if one can defeat 10, automatically one can defeat 2,
Absolutely.
right? So
but
if I could defeat 10,
You will argue, don't worry. Let him
Okay.
Yeah.
Yalla, I did not hear you, Sajjad.
No, if I could defeat 10 the first time, then when I get 2 people, it's as
It's
easy
easy.
to defeat them.
You swallow them overnight. What is your
No, but then like Allah is stating one thing, that one of you can defeat 10 of them. And then he's making it like a different statement. So it's actually a contradiction, or isn't an abrogation.
So
what
because-
makes it abrogation?
Because he's saying that now one of you can't defeat 10 because you are, as in they were uncomfortable about
Is it a law that is abrogated?
No, it's not law, but it's a statement that was opposite. Like,
Hakuna.
there was a
What
statement
about problem?
opposite.
Let me hear from Mama.
Yeah.
I will tell you.
According to
But it's good when you work that so that you read the Quran.
yeah,
Very good, Mama.
according to Hudi,
Yeah.
so the first one was recommendation and the second one was wajib.
Excellent. But that one, of course, you have to read it. The first one is just a recommendation. And the second one, that all comes into the Tafsir of Quran. It's a recommendation. And the second, because you know, Ayatollah Khoyi, out of all the previous Maraji, he wrote Tafsir of Quran. And as I was mentioning that time, he wasn't only jurist, Ayatollah Khoyi. He was a theologian at the same time, and he was Mufassir at the same time. That was why he was very powerful, Ayatollah. Yes.
would you explain the difference of opinion then between Khoi and the other Maraji?
There's a lot of that's why when we enter Quran, there are a lot of difference of opinion.
No, in abrogation.
Yeah, of course. Khoi, the difference between him and them is in the number of how many verses, like the research you made, how many verses are abrogated. Khoi, what was his opinion? How many verses were abrogated? One.
No, but I found two.
No, one. That two is the few of the people reported, but he's strongly saying it's only one verse. But you read Makarim Shirazi, you read Allama Tabataba, you read the rest, they have a very strong opinion to say there are many verses that are abrogated.
What about the verse 58:12?
Khoi said that, but he was not strong on that.
Isn't that the one he said that is strong? That's
No.
the only one he said was strong, wasn't
The
it?
first one. What was the first one?
Someone put him say
No.
this is about all you who believe when you consult the messenger
Uh-huh.
and
That's-
offer something.
That's
in
your
return.
verse.
That's the strong one.
That's the strong one.
So the alcohol is not abrogated according to Ayatollah Khoi.
No.
La is there, but the opinion is not strong.
Okay.
He is banking on this thing very powerful. He's there, boy, but it's not all that strong. That's why most of the books you read, he said one verse is abrogated. When it comes to Whatever Ya Allah, there are many verses, about 5, 6, 7 verses that are abrogated in their opinion. And of course, I subscribe more to Ayatollah Khoei's ideas when it comes to the issue of, because Quran cannot be everything abrogated.
So how does he explain this alcohol thing if it's not abrogated?
It is,
Okay.
but it's not having very strong opinion compared to the first verse which she's quoting.
So is it abrogated or not?
Oh, it is.
What's the number of the ayah?
Huh?
Which ayah is that?
The strong one.
A strong one.
58.
58.
Mujadila, ayat
Yeah.
abrogated.
Now come guys.
Next verse, 58, which is
Fundamental
12, 58, 13.
and clear verses of Quran. This is very important. No, fundamental and ambiguous.
58, 12, 58, 13.
Ambiguous verses of Quran. This is also a very important science of Quran. Fundamental, you can put in a bracket clear, and then ambiguous means unclear, as they say. Verses of glorious Quran. It is scholars of Quran, when they come to this topic, they say this topic is of utmost importance compared to any other science of Quran. It's the top most important discussion in the world of the science of Quran. So therefore we need to pay attention and try to understand it properly. Tonight definitely we'll not be able to finish. Next week we'll finish it. Now, of utmost importance is the science of clear and unclear verses of the Holy Quran. You see? He said here, many attentions is being given to this science, means this science of the Quran, by the expert of Quran. It's just an introduction. Expert of the Quran. Now we come to the main discussion. You know, the fundamental in Quran is called muhkamat. Muhkamat. And then we have the ambiguous. In Quran is called mutashabihat. Mutashabihat. Now let's begin with the muhkamat. You see, the word muhkamat, the word muhkamat is from the word ha, ka, ma, which literally means literally prevented. Is prevented. There is no anything that will affect it. It's known, it's protected, it's there as is. There is no problem. So now this is just literal meaning of it. It means prevented. And this word and the word mutashabihat and the word mutashabihat literally means for something to look like the other. For something to look like the other.
Resemblance.
Hence, it creates confusion. That's just literal meaning. You know, mutashabi, other yushbi hadha, wa other yushbi hadha. These look like the other. It resembles it. So now you don't know which is which, so it creates a lot of confusion. So therefore, just get the literal meaning before we enter into the Quran. Now, muhkamat, muhkam, prevented. Nothing will touch it. We know it, no any confusion. But here, no. This thing look like the other one. This one look like the other one. So I don't know which is which. I may interpret it that way. You may interpret it this way. He may interpret it the other way. So it creates a lot of confusion. Therefore, Arabs, they call it mutashabah. They look alike. Now let's come to the main discussion in the science of Quran. This is just a literal meaning of the word. Fundamental and ambiguous. Here, you realize that language means every language is generally ambiguous. And ambiguity is a natural phenomenon. In every language, or in all languages, every language there are ambiguity. There are certain things in that language that are not clear. They will need some sort of interpretation. They will need a lot of explanation. Every language, if you are master in language, you understand this. That in every language, one way or the other, you find some aspect of it are not clear. You need someone to explain to you, or someone who has studied it, or someone who is a master in it, for it to be explained to you. So therefore, it's a problem. What we say here, we said, the problem of ambiguity also exists in the Holy Quran. See, in Quran we also have it. It exists in the Holy Quran. And the best method, which will come to that maybe next week, and the best method to overcome the problem is through study one science of Islamic teachings which provide profound understanding. Next week we'll do this science, which provide profound understanding about interpretation. If you don't do this science, you'll just cram everything. You don't have a choice, which is very difficult. But you have to know the science, and then you know, when I see this sign, this is telling me this is not clear. If I see the other sign, it is telling me the sign is showing that this verse is clear. So therefore, for us as Muslims who believe in Quran, to go out of the problem of ambiguity, you need to understand these signs. If you do not understand the signs, then it becomes a problem. You have to go to Quran, you have to memorize all the verses in the Quran that you are taught these are ambiguous verses, and these are not ambiguous verses. Therefore, we have two things here. Take note of this. Therefore, Quran outline two things, namely, first, study Muhkamat means verses with clear meanings. There is no problem with their meaning. And then number 2, study of mutashabihat. Verses with unclear or ambiguous meaning. These are 2 things you can find in glorious Quran when it comes to this. Now we check, we refer to Quran 3 verse 7. Quran 3, so we have 2 things here. Study of muhkamat and study of mutashabihat. And that's what we're going to do a lot next week, inshallah. Verses with clear meanings and verses with unclear meanings. And I will tell you later what is the problem of unclear verses. That is the main thing why today you have a lot of Islamic sects in the world. This is the cause of the thing. Because people don't understand Quran. Most of the sects we have and divisions are based on this. They will take the verse, they will interpret it differently. And they are thinking that that is the right understanding of Quran. Therefore you realize that Quran, you cannot just come to the verse of Quran and you want to interpret it the way you please like. You need to know first the science of Quran before you start interpreting the verses of Quran. So now we have these 2 things. So now when you go to Quran 3 verse 7, it advises on the 2 types of verses. Quran 3 verse 7 advises on the 2 types of verses. We'll read the verse. On the 2 types of verses. The first type is the one which is clear and called foundation of the book. We'll read the verse, you'll see it is there. Which we call it knowledge. Kitab. That's the first one. It's the foundation of the book. And the second type is the ambiguous, which is difficult to interpret. So then the second type is the ambiguous, which is difficult to interpret. So here we realize that 2 verses. One is easy, fundamentals, we can understand them. The other one is not easy. It's very difficult to interpret. You cannot just interpret it. Now you open the Quran, somebody open the Quran and read this verse for me. Verse 3, Quran 3 verse 7. Quran 3 verse 7. Quran 3 verse 7. Yalla Muhammad, help us.
He it is who has revealed the book to you. Some of its verses are decisive. They are the basis of the book. And others are allegorical. Then as for those...
Every translator has got his own ways of putting the words.
Then as for those in whose hearts there is perversity, they allow the part of it which is allegorical, seeking to mislead and seeking to give it their own interpretation. But none knows its interpretation except Allah and those who are firmly rooted in knowledge.
So now you see the first one is clear. The one which is saying allegorical is talking about these unclear verses of the Holy Quran. Therefore we say notes. Notes. Divisions and sects within Muslims are caused by the usage or the use of ambiguous verses alone in interpretation. Most of the divisions we have is also, yes.
Isn't that an ambiguous verse itself?
Which one?
The one with 3:7.
Of course it's ambiguous.
So how are we using an ambiguous verse to make a decision?
It doesn't matter, you can make it easily.
And can we talk about the verse as well?
Yeah, of course.
The comma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easily you can use it easily. The verse itself is ambiguous. This verse which we have, the verse 3, number 7, very good question. So now this is the last part. You see, divisions and sects within Islam are caused by the use of ambiguous verses alone. So they capitalize on the ambiguous verse and they remain there. You see, the best way to interpret ambiguous verses is to refer it to the clear verse. That is the best way. And this is what they call, and this is what they call Tafsir of Quran by Quran. See, ambiguous, you have to refer it. That's a really, it's a method, it's a technology. Next week I will give you many signs of how to do that next week. You have to take this ambiguous, but if you take it alone, you cannot do anything with it. I'll give you, we will go through some demonstration now. You have to refer it back to clear, or else you create confusion in the community. You cause your own fatwa, and people will go haywire following you. And that is where the problem comes. So let's see examples of clear and unclear verses of the Quran. We're going to look at just few examples of clear and unclear verses of the Holy Quran. Number 1 chapter, we check number 1 chapter or Quran 112. Which chapter is this? It's called Allah Ikhlas. It's a well-established verse, chapter. So Ikhlas, it is regarded as a well-established chapter. When I say well-established, it's clear or fundamental. There is no problem here. Qul Wallahu Ahad, Allah. Yes, you will need interpretations, but there is no problem here at all. Qul Wallahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid Walam Yulad. Now this is taking note of this one. Let's come to, we check Quran 75, verse 22 to 23. Someone open the Quran and let's do exercise with it. Quran 75, verse 22 and 23. What does Allah say there? 22, 23. It's talking about seeing Allah on the day of judgment. Check the recite the verse. Let's see. Yes.
It says
Hazrat
Arabic.
Muhammad, Bismillah.
Arabic or English?
Wallah habibi. Allah is
No,
the
the English is also accurate. Some faces on that day shall be bright, looking to their Lord.
So now here, this verse, it is regarded as ambiguous. See? And the thing is, look here. the question is, can we really look at Allah on the day of Qiyamah? That's the question. Can we really look at him? How are we going to look at him? Let's go to the 3rd verse, then we will see. Let's go to the 3rd verse. Now this is clear, we don't have a problem with the first one. But this one is not clear. They will see Allah on the day of Qiyamah. How are they going to see Allah? When we say in our Qaid, you cannot see him because it's not confined. Common sense tells me something which is not matter does not occupy a space. So if he does not occupy a space, is it possible for me to see him? Although we have differences between us also at the same time and the Sunnis, whereby they believe that, mashallah, the best of the ni'mah on the day of Qiyamah is to see Allah. Mungu, you have to see him. Now they come, they said, when the fire is burning, you know the fire. So you'll put this with a cut. The fire comes down. Habibi, how can this? It doesn't make sense. So here we said, Allah, because the interpreter said you can see Allah. So, yes.
Sheikh, for example, with his innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir, with the policy of kun fayakun. For example.
Yeah. So what happened to the policy of kun fayakun?
Allah can appear as a...
No problem. Allah, Habibi. Okay, I understand.
If you go to Surah Dukhan, there's one ayah that says that
Yeah.
if you don't believe in that,
If you don't believe in what?
that you will see me.
That is, these are all ambiguous, but this is what I'm talking about.
But he says straightforward English.
La English, Habibi. English, yes, Haji Ahmad. The translators, mashallah, they translate. And they've done well. But now, you cannot depend on the translation. No. Quran, if you depend on even Nazul Balaga, if you depend on translation, you are in trouble. You need to really serve in and go deeper and deeper and dig and dig and dig. So that's why we said we have clear, we have unclear. Our Aqidah, which goes with common sense, is telling me as Nur standing here, I'm limited. Why I'm limited? Because I'm limited by a space and I'm limited by time. Therefore, I'm confined within a particular area and within a particular period of time. I'm not in my house anymore now. I'm just here alone. And I'm not here 9:30, 8:30. I'm only here 9:30. I'm confined. I'm limited. Okay? What does it mean? It means I'm needy because I'm dominated by material. But now spiritual is not limited. Allah, as they said, which is just a kind of expression, is a spiritual being. But in what sense? Allah does not occupy a space. He is everywhere. Anything that occupies a space is in need of that space. And Allah is not occupying, so He's not in need. So if He does not occupy, is not confined, it means you cannot see Him. You cannot see Him. So now if you cannot see Him with my common sense, and yet Quran is telling me, la, on that day, some eyes will see Him. It means Allah is going to be confined in particular. Yes, the Sunni said on the day of Qiyamah only you will see Him. Now, Ahmed, you come with a point. Said Allah said in Quran, Allah kulli shay'in qadir. Allah is capable of doing it. It's true, I agree with you. But Allah makes things out of His power, things that make sense. It doesn't make sense that do not make sense. For example, in Aqaid, they give you this example. Allah can do anything. Can Allah bring the whole world into the egg, one egg? This is an Aqaid, they give this example. You take one egg, can Allah put everything there? This is what we have muhal adi wa muhal aqli. You have two types of impossibility. We have a normal impossibility and you have intellectual impossibility. There is something intellectually Allah will not do. It doesn't mean that He's not capable, but it doesn't make sense for Him to do it. Because the system He has introduced does not agree well with that thing if He does. So this is what they call muhal aqli, is intellectually impossible. But we have muhal adi, it's possible. So long as the conditions are met, it will happen. If the like, for instance, now, am I the Minister of Petroleum in Kenya? No. So now you tell me, Sheikh, I think you can be a good Minister of Petroleum. Said, Ya Allah. This is not impossible, but it is normal impossible. It is not intellectual impossible. Because why is not intellectual? Because I can stay longer, I can get Kenyan citizenship, I can go to school, I can learn, I can start entering into politics. Yes, it is not long, but the condition can be met. But there are certain things you say, Ya Allah, Sheikh Nur, well, life you can become an angel, it will be nice, Baba, how am I going to become an angel? Intellectually, it's not possible, but Allah can make me that if He wants. But intellectually, how? Baba, these guys be sitting here eating food like any other people, sleeping like any other people. Now all of a sudden Allah is turning him into angel. So therefore Allah can do, but He doesn't do. The same thing here. Allah says, you will see me. And translated, but if you check the translations of the Ahl-al-Bayt Shias, they always put certain things into bracket, and they always try to tell you, look, there is something bigger than this one. Now look at this verse, Ajah Ahmad. Even with argument sake, we said, okay, Yallah, my brother, Sunni, sister, Allah will be seen on the day of Qiyamah. This is the verse. Now let's go to Quran 6, verse 103. Read that one for me. Quran 6, verse 103. What does Allah say?
Vision comprehends him not, and He comprehends all vision.
Vision cannot even. لا يدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك وهو اللطيف الخبير. Vision cannot, Habibi. So here, that it's, inshallah, when we enter Tafsir, we will sometimes use these ways. Yani here they said this verse, it is regarded as a clear verse. This is clear. So for me and you to give direct and true interpretation of this verse, we have to refer it to this. There is a process of referring, but here I'm just telling you have to refer it to this verse. And then you will be able to give a true interpretation as it was received from prophets, true companions, and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu. Or else, wallah, you're going to put people in mess. So Allah can be seen. When I was Sunni, I used to believe in these things, man. You can see Allah. I don't want to Jannah, I don't want anything, I just want to see Allah. Because when you see Him, there is some mercy and some nice air that will blow you, then you enjoy. Baba, where will that be? Go to Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu. Imam made life so easy and life so clear. That for you to do that, you refer this verse to this particular verse. So vision cannot comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then this is how it helps you to be able to give. So therefore, in short, in Quran we have two types of verses. There are other divisions which are not all that important, like Amma, Khasa, Khas, special, general. Those are not problem. These are the major ones in Quran. You have the ambiguous and you have the clear verse. For me to be able to interpret ambiguous verse, I need to refer it to clear verse of Quran. Why ambiguity in Quran? Is because of the nature of the language. Simple as that. This is how, but inshallah next week, what are we going to do next week? We will take some few examples, but then I will show you the signs of ambiguous verses and the signs of clear verses. So that when you yourself, you take Quran, you read it, and then you are, okay, this sign, this I think is ambiguous. This I think is clear verse. This I think is like that. So once you understand all these signs of Quran, when you enter Tafsir, life becomes so easy for you. It's no use you start with Tafsir and you don't know anything about these things. Knowing this is half of Tafsir, halfway you are gone. Because now you enter Tafsir, you say abrogation, I know. Allah is talking about Nuzul al-Quran, revelation of Quran, at least you know something about it. Then you enjoy the Tafsir of Quran. Now if you have a question, you can ask.
The verses are not in order, like you just randomly in between
Yeah.
So it can even be the verse which is, the ambiguous, and then the clear one first. First comes the ambiguous one, which is in 75.
Yeah.
And then comes the 6th as a clear
Yes,
one.
yes. It doesn't mean that it should be in order. This one has to be revealed first before. It's not like in the case of the abrogation, whereby the abrogated has to be there first. It has to be the nasikh and mansukh. So the mansukh must be there first. Then later on nasikh will come and crash it and tell you, look, now do like this. But alhamdulillah, we are fortunate enough. We've not passed through those processes. The first Muslims had to go through that process. Why? Because that was the beginning of the mission of our beloved Prophet. So Allah had to take them. But me and you, we are so fortunate enough that we did not go through all these stages, this, that. Allah just gave us this Quran as a guide for all of us. So you take it as a guide also. It will only help you maybe sometimes. You're going to give da'wah someplace, tabligh for us. You find people, they are drinking too much, or people, they are not observing hijab properly, they are used to that kind of life, whereby it's just wire, people don't care. Everybody can do anything. So you have to take it step by step for you to pull them. You don't expect them to become people who observe namaz daily, nicely, hijab completely, alcohol they live with. You take them from one point, but somebody like me, somebody like you, we have received this guidance through the blessings of our parents and through the blessings of Islam. We just found it easily, then we have to take it. But the previous companions of Prophet, Ya Allah, they had to go through a lot of difficulties for them to make sure this Islam reach us protected and nice. And you will see, when we do the last lesson before the Tafsir, is this, distortion of Quran, which is a huge confusion. Sunnis, they throw Shias up. Quran is being distorted. Shia said this, Shia said this. Whereas you will see when we study it, I'm going to give you the Quran of Umar, the Quran of Abu Bakr, the Quran of different, which is different from the current Quran we have. And the companions reported it. But at the end, Shias will say, we don't believe in all this Quran. Quran is only one Quran. So distortion is that is the main thing. In fact, more than the abrogation which they used to lash us. Because they've got one Indian, Pakistani, and alim, Eli Zahir, who came up with his book to see the changes of the Quran from this one to this one. Now they said it's Iranian, it's Shia, it's this. Unfortunately, may Allah protect us. Other question, raise your hand, Habibi.
Yeah, you said that ambiguous verses is because of the language. Yeah?
But there are other reasons.
But in the end of the day, Allah has power of everything. He could have made all the verses clear if He wanted. So, as in, He could have overcome that problem.
Very good point. Very good point. Very good point. Therefore, when we go and study more into this, we'll come and tell you it is only unclear to those who don't know Quran. Allah told you, those who've got that sickness in their heart, فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهُ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Is go to Allah and go to those who are deeply grounded in knowledge. I had this problem also myself in Johannesburg. I had a debate about this Quran. So this professor said, no, we know everything in Quran. We study, we are professors. I said, Baba, you know zero in Quran. He argued with me because, professor, he's been in the field for how many, Allah knows how many. He taught in Harvard, he taught in big universities. I said, Baba, you know zero about Quran. You are a professor in your medicine or in what you're teaching at the university. I cannot come and claim that I know everything that you do. There are a lot of unclear issues in what you do, which are clear to you and they are not clear to me. So the same thing like what we are doing now. At least from today this is not unclear to me, I know. But the general public, as Imam Jafar categorized it, whoever goes to Quran will have something to understand from Quran. There is no way that a human being who is seeking guidance will go to Quran and find nothing. It's impossible. But Imam divided into different chambers. It's a general public, when they go, they will have this. Those who are a little bit learned, when they go, they will have it, yes. Those who are deeper and deeper, when they go, they will have it. This is why Imam come Isharat, Al-Lata'if, Al-Tanbiyah. They will have this. Everybody will have, because it's a guidance. But you cannot say, Ya Allah, clear for everybody. You will see a lot of interpretation today. People will grill you with it. So this is to encourage me and you to say, no, we need to learn about this book of Allah. We need to understand it. We need to know it properly. Once you know it, you will enjoy it. Why people are making tafsir of Quran? Some will make tafsir 20 volumes. Look at Tabatabai, which I think there is no any better tafsir than tafsir Tabatabai in the world. Look at Amthal, which is like the very simplest tafsir, which is, mashallah, appealing to that of Ayatollah Makarim Shiraz. 20 volumes. So they studied it, they learned it, they understood it, and they are also passing on. All these lessons, where do we get them? We get them from the scholars who wrote books on the sciences of Quran. So therefore, it will be unclear. In fact, even the clear one will be unclear. Wallah, Kul Wallah, I ask you if you give me the tafsir of Kul Wallah. How do you get the tafsir of Kul Wallah? When Imam Bakr, he took only that Allah in Kul Wallah is more than 2 pages of interpretation. So study, when you study, then we know. Inshallah.
So do we have interpretation of tafsir by our imam?
Of course. All our tafsir is dependent on Aimma.
How come we don't come across that?
They are there. When you read every tafsir of Shia, even Sunnis, they bank on certain riwayah of the companions they believe in. The same thing applies to us. All our ulama, that's why you will see there are different types of tafsir. There's what we call tafsir al-ma'thur, and we have tafsir bil-ra'i, tafsir by self-opinion. The most dangerous type of tafsir is that. Tabatabai, he presented his tafsir, but all the tafsir he did, yes, it's his effort and energy and understanding, but it's not like anything from his heart is from him. He had to depend on the riwayat of Ahl al-Bayt. He had to depend on one another scholar who wrote the same tafsir, like Majmu' al-Bayan of Tabrisi, which is one of the good tafsir also of Shia, to say this and that. So self-feel opinion, no, we don't have it. Yes, you can say, according to me, it's like this, but you cannot impose to say this is what Allah meant. Because you cannot tell me, no matter how strong you are, you will reach that stage of Ahl al-Bayt in terms of knowledge and understanding. You cannot. Even this professor was telling me, you believe in Prophet Muhammad? He said, yes. So, okay, so you can come up with something which is different from Prophet Muhammad. No matter how advanced you are today, you cannot reach that level of Ahl al-Bayt. It's common sense. So the same thing, tafsir, which we have, is Ahl al-Bayt. Like we have even not only tafsir, ahadith. We have ahbar al-rida. These are all they compiled the riwayat which we receive from Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. So we have them like that into different chambers like that. So if you say you want to give tafsir of your own opinion, then you have to prepare a place in Jahannam, Allah. نحن يا وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين